Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Atlas Insights, where we look at the customer service department within Trilogy Software and our AI first approach to both customer service and automations in general. Today, I am joined by Denis, who is our, for today, Kandy guru. So today we're going to look at Kandy, a telco VoIP product within our portfolio. Denis has been instrumental in automating a large chunk of the processes that were taking place there and integrating it into Atlas Chat and further down the line, Atlas Ticket. So without further ado, Denis, tell us what you've been up to.
Thank you, Colin, for this massive introduction. I feel a bit elevated already. So first, to tell you about Kandy a bit. So it is a telco product. It is focusing on different voice over IP services, and there are plenty of those, and they're all very different. And this can be told also about the backend and front end of Kandy. It's like an endless cavalcade of different components. And this is pretty much the approach we're taking when automating things as well. So for Kandy, we have like 10 to 12 intents that customers are pursuing when they are contacting us. And all of those are conducted in different ways. For some of them, we're using SQL queries. For some of them, we're using API calls to different backend systems. And well, I've been working with other guys for some endpoints for some other products that are more straightforward. For example, for city numbers or CloudFix that you will probably record sometime later, maybe. It is very straightforward. You just send some API call somewhere and it is done. Okay, you have the result. For Kandy, oof, there is like all the steps you can think of, and then there will be adding more steps and more steps. And so in customer support, we're less concerned with whys and more concerned with, let's say, do's. It is hard to explain how Kandy got in the place where it is now, but we will have to work with it anyway. I've been thinking about the ways customer support is working in general. So we, as customer support, are positioned somewhere where products lacks like features or like some usabilities that was expected by the customers. For example, something has to be done at the backend. Surely we can trust customers with that, or some self-service option is missing. Here comes the customer support agents to perform these tasks. And so what we do with our automations, they basically emulate these customer support agents doing things, and they in their turn emulate features that are missing from the products. In terms of Candies, there is usually this lack of self-service options or some backend tasks. We don't have licensing here, so this is good. I mean, good in terms of we don't have to do this bulk of tickets that we do for some products as like licensing, output another license generated every month. We don't do this here, which is good. So demonstrate how ridiculously complex the flows in Kandy are. So can you please display it back?
Yeah. Cool. Yep. We'll look here at just one of the diagrams that you sent on.
So this is the flow that I am working on right now. It is partially complete. I have what was it? 15 scenarios. I have 15 MACD scenarios for Kandy that I have to implement. For now, I have 4 implemented, and this is how it operates. For, well, as I've described earlier, for other products, it's like you have Zendesk chat. That is actually a voice flow widget for us now. And from there, you usually can just send a request without any endpoint anywhere. You don't even need AWS Lambda or whatever. You can just send a request with some payload, and it is done. For Kandy, no, you need a lot of intermediate steps. So, for example, a customer comes and he says, you know what, I need to reserve a number for future use in Kandy. And he submits some files or give the textual description and whatever. They actually have 6 types of Excels that they use, and I am working on processing all of them. I don't even have titles for some of them. I just name them weird type Excel1, weird type Excel2, etc. And so they submit this document and in before, and still now we used to process them manually, but we are automating things. So for that type, we need intermediary steps. And so our voice flow widget sends data to voice flow. From there, we send things to AWS Lambda. Now that I'm looking at it, we actually have a few steps missing here because we do not have file upload capabilities. I have reused Pablo Abrams' flow for what was it called? Upload. Oh, yes, it was called upload.
Very original naming convention we have in Central.
Well, it does its job, so okay.
Yep.
So I have integrated that upload flow that is hosted somewhere in AWS Fargate, I believe. I'm not sure why Pablo wasn't using the FTP product that AWS is also offering, but well, whatever, it works. So in the chat, the customer is offered an option to upload this weird Excel that he has to this upload system. It is then queried by voice flow. It is then fed to AWS Lambda. But because Kandy has some security requirements, we cannot even query Kandy directly. First, we need to get ourselves an Azure SSO token. Then we need to get ourselves another token from another system. Only after that, we can use these tokens to query a fast API server that I have also deployed because there were none. And we need something to talk in between all the Kandy systems. So it is sent to this fast API server, and only then it is sent to some production backend that Kandy has. And only then it is returned back to customer, but it is also not the end of it because it is only the job ID. Then you have to repeat all the steps to get back and get the job results. And when this is compared with city numbers or CloudFix endpoints that are like just shoot an API request that way and it works, it is very complex. And to be honest, I spent quite a lot of time on this step between AWS Lambda and Fast API server, just because what is called JSON handling, making sure the data sent from voice flow to AWS and from AWS to Fast API and from there to APIM API server, it is all in the expected format because it is never in the expected format somehow. 2 components out of 4 I describe here myself, but somehow it always ends up different. I'm not even sure how. For example, for AWS Lambda, there's actually one more component before that. There is API gateway, and it also have some built-in transformations that it is using on all the input that you're sending to it and all the output that it is sending to AWS Lambda. And when to use sending this to Fast API server, it has what is Python doesn't have types defined like explicitly, but this Fast API server, it is using explicit types, and even then, whatever you are sending to it, it is also can be of any format that you expect. And for the last step, the actual step that we were doing this for, the production server, well, let's say quite a lot of knowledge was lost on how to use it. And luckily, we still have the source codes. Actually, I wasn't able to get any reasonable output from this API server before I was granted access to the source codes because nobody knows how to use it. It is being used. We have production systems that are using it, like wrappers, but we lost knowledge how to write new wrappers. So I had to use source codes. I try to feed them to our second brain that our engineering has developed, and I try to feed it to ChatGPT. But it was just too big for them to process it, so I had to, read them myself, which also took quite a lot of time. And that is just one example in terms of Kandy, one flow. We have others, and they are all like this. Whatever you're trying to implement on Kandy, you have to go through quite a lot of hoops. I have no idea why, and I don't question it at that point. I just, okay, let's go implement this
Yeah.
stuff one problem at a time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's how we kind of tend to focus on any problem. We just get it done.
Yeah, I mean, asking yourself why will not get you anywhere unless that is your master's in philosophy or whatever you're doing with your
Yeah.
life.
Yeah. I don't think we qualify as a philosophical group. We're more, I think, action oriented, but
Yes.
well, the why can come afterwards when you're celebrating or when you're commiserating. Cool. Okay. So, I mean, quite a complex flow, a lot of steps involved, but it has obviously made an impact on the product and being able to deploy. In terms of using voice flow as the kind of the medium to come through, how did you find it integrating between that and your automations?
Well, I think it has been noted in the previous episode by Sam that VoiceFlow has this nice balance of things that you define and things that you don't define.
Mm-hmm.
Because this forethought system that we have tried before, and the idea was great, right? You just give ChatGPT some GPT tools and it does all the job, but it was so unreliable. And with VoiceFlow, you can hard code some stuff. You can rely on natural language processing when you are not sure what will the input be from the customer, or when you need to be a bit more, hard coded, you can just output buttons and hope that the customer will press them, which will not happen all the time, but
Mm-hmm.
it will happen sometime and it will be good enough. For example, for a flow that I haven't described, but it's called route number. It is a bit simpler than this one, but it requires some strict input from the customer that I cannot trust LLM with. I just print buttons, and the customer is supposed to select the target. And I know that the customer is familiar with the targets because somehow our customers are very familiar with our product. Sometimes they're even more familiar than we are in some areas. So yeah. I find that VoiceFlow give us both the ability to not explicitly state things and to state them explicitly, which is nice.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, if you're going to be particularly in the scenario you described earlier with the different inputs that it can receive and the transformations, being able to very much feed exactly what you need into the API, you couldn't leave that to an LLM because of the potential that something would go amiss.
I actually trying to do this right now, but it is not working well. I ended up just selecting things with buttons, but I'm still hoping that somehow I can make GPT feed on those weird Excels because they are not also this strict because every Excel that the customer submits, first of all, they are not even inside one type, they are sometimes incorrect. The input is just incorrect and I cannot trust the customer with the input. And
Yeah.
even when I think that it is they're using some one type that is, for example, called thick, sometimes it is also incorrect. It can be missing headers in some places, etc. So I'm experimenting with GPT to try to make it act like an agent. When an agent sees an Excel, he's not processing it type. He's just looking for information. And
Sure.
it is not working so far, but I'm still trying.
Okay. And in terms of, so obviously that was Kandy and that was the main driver to having you here. In terms of the other products that you're working on, is it you were saying it's a more simplistic model, it's not as complex? Any major wins there?
Well, I'm not I have handed over this product to Sanket, the CloudFix one, but I have checked the week one of his deployment of voice flow, it was more than 50% deflection. I was like, okay, I did a good job, I guess.
Very good. Yeah. No, it's I think we're at, I was showing the stat in the last episode. I think I show it at least once a week because it's so good. I think we're at 59% deflection overall. So for every product.
I'm not going to brag my numbers Kandy-wise because they're not so good. In many products like, I don't know, Fogbucks that Anton has got himself when he first joined, it is fairly straightforward. You cannot automate anything in Fogbucks except for licensing, and it doesn't even happen so often. And for Fogbucks, as soon as he deployed our template version that is like Atlas Core, it was at 35% deflection because, well, nothing to be done there. The knowledge base is so good that you can just tell the customer, you know what, read that article and your problem is solved. That is true for many products that we have that have well vetted knowledge base. But for some products like Kandy, we have nothing. I have like, I think 5 tickets that were resolved with knowledge base over the span of a quarter, and it will not be any better anytime soon. All the tickets that we have, they are do tickets. You need to do something in the backend, and some tickets are even more complex when it is not even clear what to do. You just have some failure, and only some complex diagnostic can be done with it. I still have my ideas how to make it easier for us for such tickets, but it will never be as great as like 95% deflection. No, it will never be there.
No. Well, not in its current iteration. I suppose we can't imagine what it'll be like a year down the line, but I suppose what we have done is we've looked at where we can make an impact, where we actually have control, and we've deployed where we can. So, and to be fair, I mean, it's not just the volume of tickets. Like 59% is a great percentage of overall tickets, but if we're solving the ones that take 80% of the time, so an agent is spending a lot longer on it than another ticket, it's equally a big win. So I think that was the other area that we were. It's not a graph that I put up, but that's another one where, like, you know, the average time on a ticket has dropped dramatically because we either take the heavy duty tickets out and we automate them, or we automate the vast majority of it, and then we have an agent do that last little piece with the information needed. But,
plus, we have tools for agents that are much better than we had like a year before. I believe you will have your podcast episode with Munavar at some place and his pacemaker. Oh, what it is called? Well, it is an impressive piece of work.
Yes. Yeah, and that's it. Yeah. We have a couple of podcasts in kind of en route that are the agents being empowered to create their own GPTs and their own kind of automations and their own systems to help. I did like we deployed a new product, an internal product, probably a month ago, and within I think an hour, 2 of the agents had their own GPTs built that could assist with the ticket and like answer, and so suddenly they were getting the ticket done super quick, and it was just in that short period of time. So it's nice to see them working that way. Cool. Okay, thank you very much, Denis, for joining us. It was quite good to hear what's happening with Kandy and the other kind of projects being worked on and the automations that are being deployed. Next week, we are talking with VoiceFlow and also looking at a management reporting system that we've deployed that reviews the ticket data for the past quarter and actually makes recommendations for the product and for customers. And that's for consumption by the account managers and product managers. So quite an interesting project from Benji. But until next week, thank you very much for joining us, and we'll speak again. Bye now.